Definitely the best and funniest scene in Hoppers. By the time Hoppers reaches the final act, the story has already escalated, far beyond Mabel simply trying to save the woods. What started as an environmental mission has turned into a full conflict between humans and the animal kingdom. And right at the center of it all is one of the most intense scenes in the entire movie, Mabel versus Robot Jerry, or basically the puppet of Titus. But this fight isn't just the movie's action climax. At this point in the story, the Insect King Titus has already taken control of a robotic clone of Mayor Jerry, planning to use it as the final step in his revenge mission against humanity. His goal is simple but terrifying: turn the simple technology that drove animals away into something that will affect humans instead. And the only person standing between the plan and disaster is Mabel. What makes this scene so interesting is that everything in the story collides here at once, and the body swap technology introduced earlier in the movie, the conflict between the animal kingdom and Mabel's relationship with the mammal king, and all the consequences of her earlier decisions all come together in a chaotic showdown involving the robot mayor and all the device that could decide the fate of both animals and humans. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down the Mabel versus Robot Jerry fight scene and explaining exactly how Titus is controlling the robot, what the plan really was, and why this moment ends up triggering the disaster that nearly destroys the city. But most importantly, we're going to be getting into the actual deep meaning behind this scene, because Pixar didn't just create it for fun. This scene has a deeper meaning relating to the whole storyline of the movie and the whole ending of the movie. Everything is related in Hopper, so without further ado guys, let's just get right into it. Well, now that we've seen the scene, let's break down the Mabel and Robot Jerry fight scene step by step, because this moment works on multiple levels. It's not just an action sequence like we said before, it's where the movie's technology, themes, character arcs, and villain motivations all collide at once. So to really understand why this scene matters, we need to look at it from different angles. Right before the fight begins, the situation in the story is already at breaking point. Titus, the new Insect King, has taken control after the death of the Insect Queen. From his perspective, humans are responsible for everything that's wrong in the natural world. And the fake trees that drove animals out of the clearing are proof that humans will manipulate nature for profit. So instead of simply removing the machines, Titus takes things much further. He decides that the only way to stop humans from destroying nature is to turn the same technology against them. That's what Robot Jerry comes in. Instead of attacking humans directly as animals, Titus creates a human-looking body that allows him to infiltrate human species without suspicion. The Robot Jerry looks exactly like the mayor, meaning he can get close to the machines and activate them without anybody realizing something is wrong. This is why the fight takes place near the fake tree and the speakers. That location is the center of Titus' plan. The robot version of Jerry is actually one of the smartest ideas the villains come up with in the movie. Throughout the story, the technology has always worked in one direction: humans entering animal bodies. But Titus flips the idea completely. Instead of a human controlling an animal body, he controls a human-like machine. That inversion is important because it mirrors the movie's core conflict. Humans use technology to control nature. Now nature is using technology to control humans. And the robot body also gives Titus several advantages over that. He can move freely in the human world, he can access the control systems for the fake trees, and he can activate the frequency speakers designed to harm humans. From a storytelling perspective, this is the moment where the technology introduced earlier in the film reaches its zenith and its most dangerous form, and Mabel enters the fight with something the other characters don't have: perspective. She has lived on both sides of the conflict, and she has experienced the human world, but she has also lived among the animals through the beaver body. That gives her a deeper understanding of both sides of the argument. So when she confronts Titus, she isn't just trying to stop him physically, she's trying to stop him emotionally. She apologizes for killing the Insect Queen earlier in the movie, hoping that Titus might step back from the revenge path he has chosen. But this moment also shows something important about Titus' character. He doesn't want justice, he wants revenge. And once revenge becomes the goal, there is no room for compromise, as you know. The location of the fight is also very deliberate. The fake tree is the symbol of everything that started the conflict. Earlier in the movie, the fake trees emitted a high-frequency sound that only animals could hear. That sound forced the animals to abandon the clearing, allowing humans to build a highway. So the trees represent human interference in nature. By placing the final fight at the top of that structure, the movie visually brings the conflict full circle. The same machine that started the problem is now the center of the final confrontation. When the control phone ends up on top of the fake tree, both Mabel and Robot Jerry start climbing towards it. This moment is less about physical fighting and more about control. Whoever reaches the phone first can activate the speakers, and that device essentially becomes the most important part of the scene. It represents the power to decide whether humans or animals suffer the consequences of technology, and that climb itself visually reinforces the stakes, and the higher they go, the more unstable the situation becomes. When Mabel finally confronts the robot at the top of the tree, it may look human, but it's still a robot, which means it depends on external systems to function. And the moment Mabel rips off the robot's face is actually a clever detail, because by damaging the facial recognition systems and control interfaces, she prevents the robot from unlocking the phone and activating the speakers. It's not just a dramatic action moment, it's Mabel using her understanding of the technology to stop the plan, which is quite interesting. But the fight has already destabilized the structure. The fake tree was never designed to support multiple people climbing it and fighting on top of it, so eventually the entire structure gives way, and when it collapses, it sparks a massive fire that spreads across the forest. And this moment is important because it shows something the movie has been building towards the entire time. When technology is misused, whether by humans or animals, the consequences can spiral out of control. Neither side intended to start a wildfire, but their conflict created the conditions for it, and the wildfire changes the entire situation and equation. Up until that point, the fight has never been about revenge or survival, but once the flames start spreading towards the city, the stakes become much bigger. Now the danger isn't limited to one group. Humans and animals are both in danger, and this is the moment where the movie shifts from conflict to cooperation. For Mabel personally, this fight represents the consequences of everything she's done. Her actions earlier in the movie triggered the chain of events that led to the Insect Queen's death and Tida's rise to power. Although it was a funny scene, of course, it actually has a deeper meaning into it. So stopping the plan isn't just about saving the city, it's about taking responsibility, which is exactly what we see after the scene, when Jerry realizes that he was wrong and he decides to help Mabel. By choosing to risk herself to stop the robot and later extinguishing the fire, she finally proves that she understands the balance between humans and nature, and she also projects it to the people that didn't believe in that at all, like Jerry. Finally, the fight sets up the final resolution of the film. Without the robot Jerry fight, the wildfire wouldn't have started. The animals and humans wouldn't have been forced to work together, and Jerry wouldn't have realized that animals were capable of saving the city, and he actually regretted it and became very empathetic towards the animals and decided not to build anything in the clearing. So even though the fight looks like a simple action sequence on the surface, it's actually the trigger that leads to the movie's final message. The conflict between humans and nature cannot be solved through revenge and control. It can only be solved through cooperation. The same cooperation that we see in many organizations around the world that try to spread awareness to this same issue. The issue of climate change, the issue of actually taking care of nature before Mother Nature really takes revenge on us. Because Mother Nature is all of us, and if she takes revenge on us, we all lose. Nobody wins in that battle. And this is exactly the message that Hoppers wants to give. And this fight scene leads to the real scene where Jerry finally learns the lesson and becomes really good friends with Mabel and makes him understand that he was completely in the wrong, and he understands that animals are actually good in nature. He just needed to leave them alone and let them live. So what do you guys think about this fight scene? Did you like it when you watched it in theaters?